What's up everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today, we're detailing some more potential leaks / rumors for the Nintendo Switch as we head down the road for E3 2021. But if you enjoy the content, please make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe if you are someone new, and let me know what you're most excited about when it comes to E3 and the Nintendo Switch, or just E3 and gaming in general. Now let's go ahead and get into the topics of discussion here. Shout outs to Zippo on this one. We talked about some of the stuff that he's discussed before because it has lined up with some of the other things that's out there and even some stuff that I have heard of. Now, in my previous videos for this past week, I have talked about a few different games. We talked about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. We also discussed what he had to say when it comes to Fire Emblem. But today we're going to be talking about two other games here, and I want to focus in on one of them at the beginning, and that's going to be the new Metroid game. This is something that I've heard quite a bit about in terms of it happening from multiple different places. Now, I don't know the details about it, but Zippo has his own things that he wants to say in terms of what he's heard. So let's get into that. So on his ramblings and other stuff that he has, I'll have a link for you guys in the description. He states this, and this is somebody, Zippo, who has gotten some things right before in the past. Most notably, in terms of what I've covered, he got the Mario Golf announcement right. So he did get that right beforehand. So that's the reason why I'm kind of following up with some of this other stuff that he is talking about. So here's what he has to say. Feels like just yesterday, this one rumored game, partially famous for, or infamous, depending on who you ask. But yes, a new 2D game from Mercury Steam 200% exists and is in fact done. All Nintendo needs to do at this point is announce it. Nintendo, and by extension Sakamoto, internally is extremely happy with how the title turned out. The only thing I've heard recently is that the game is running a very smooth 60 frames per second. My hard read / prediction is that an announcement at E3 Direct next month. Have some patience, bounty hunters. We're almost there. Now let's discuss this just a bit because this is lined up with what I've heard. Mercury Steam, for those who don't know, they are the developers behind some interesting titles in the past for Nintendo. Now, they did once before a Castlevania game that was on the Nintendo 3DS that was exclusive for a bit before it went over to other platforms, and I think Nintendo was actually impressed with how they handled the 3DS tech, which led to them making an actual Metroid game. The game Metroid Samus Returns on the Nintendo 3DS is a Mercury Steam developed game with, of course, Nintendo paying for it and kind of giving some direction here and there in terms of what they want to do. But Mercury Steam handled that game, and that is a fantastic remake of Metroid 2 from the Game Boy. So I think Nintendo was very pleased with what they had to do there. And it only makes sense, right, if they were able to make another one, because Metroid Samus Returns, while it wasn't a massive seller or anything, I did think that it did well enough for the team size. It's not a huge team, it's not massive budgets, but obviously the budgets and probably who they would need and everything would go up with this one. But since it's the Switch and it's multiple years later now, you have 80 million plus people to sell this Metroid game to, and if it's going to be a very slick 60 frames per second 2D Metroid game, we don't know if it's going to be a remake or if it's going to be a new game that enhances the series forward with the story. Who knows what it's going to be? I'm personally hoping that it's a brand new 2D Metroid game with Nintendo, Sakamoto, and also with Mercury Steam all working together to deliver something awesome. Don't get me wrong. Remakes are great. I think that remakes can be really cool, and I would be happy if they have a Metroid Fusion remake, or if they have a Metroid Zero Mission. If they remade that again, I guess that'd be like the second time they remake that. It'd be the third time in total for the original Metroid. But if they added in some other things, that would be fantastic as well. I wouldn't be too upset with that, right? 2D Metroid games are great, but I'd really love to see them kind of push the series forward and kind of move things with it. So 60 frames per second smooth gameplay. Well, that's definitely an upgrade over Metroid Samus Returns, which runs at 30 frames per second, which is not bad, definitely not bad, but having it at 60 frames per second would be good. But some of the other little details here, I'm very interested in what Zippo has to say here. So he says that Nintendo is extremely happy with this title and how it turned out. So I'm guessing from a technical perspective and from a gameplay perspective, everything just clicks. It's very smooth. Nintendo is some of the masters when it comes to overseeing and developing 2D games. So if they're happy with this, if this report or if what Zippo was saying is true, then I can only expect that this is going to be a very slick, smooth, and great playing game, because I know Nintendo was very happy with Metroid Samus Returns on the Nintendo 3DS and probably thought it was going to do better, but there were factors with that game, right? There are people who can make excuses here or there or whatever the case is. Either way, the game turned out great, and Mercury Steam proved that they can take a Metroid IP and make new things and add new stuff into it. But will they trust them with actually having a brand new game in the series? Well, we're going to find out. Now, the fact that he says that the game is done, this is interesting. So Nintendo is sitting on it just a bit. Well, I can understand why. And this is one of the things, if you actually watched one of my videos before where I talked about Nintendo's 2021, I mean, I make so many videos on here, it's hard to keep up with everything, but make sure you guys hit those notifications. But I talked about how Nintendo was kind of rushing through this first half of the year with them and their partners. If you look at it, there's so many games coming out from like February all the way to July, and even in July they're packing it full of 3 fairly large games with Skyward Sword and also Monster Hunter and Neo The World Ends With You, the Monster Hunter Stories 2 game. So it seems like they're trying to get everything in that time period, because in the second half there's going to be some fairly substantial titles that are going to need their own kind of window or bubble to release. So I'm guessing that Metroid is one of these, and it's going to be maybe a late summer type of title. I don't know if it's going to lead into the holiday season, but a late summer title. And if it does come out at the end of the year, it'll probably be after, you know, November and December, almost like in that Xenoblade type of spot. But then again, Smash Brothers launched in that before, so I couldn't just call it that. But yeah, it's one of those things to where I think it will be a August or September type of game. But we're going to have to wait and see on that. Like I said, I have heard personally about a Metroid game, 2D Metroid from Mercury Steam. We've talked about it on the Spawncast before as well. So there's definitely lots of rumblings about 2D Metroid from Mercury Steam, and it makes sense considering how great Metroid Samus Returns was and what they did with that game. But what are your thoughts on 2D Metroid? What do you want to see going forward with it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to another game here, and this one's interesting because Super Mario Party 2. So apparently there is another Mario Party in development. Now Zippo talks about it here, but I have heard conflicting reports in terms of what this Mario Party game is going to be. Some say that it's not going to be a Super Mario Party 2. It's just going to be a new Mario Party game. Some might say that it's just going to be a follow-up to Super Mario Party 2 and expand upon it in great detail. Well, let's see what Zippo has to say here. So he says, quote, "The most obvious sequel in the history of the universe, LMAO. The original 2018 game has sold far better than anyone could have expected." Yes, that's true. It's over 14 million units, I think, or right around there, including Nintendo. It's gone on to be the best-selling Mario Party ever by a wide margin. Not only that, but there's another way to look at its massive sales. It's outsold every Mario Kart pre-DS, every Animal Crossing pre-New Horizons, as well as every Smash Brothers game pre-Ultimate. Mario Party is a big deal at Nintendo now, and they're taking the series seriously, which is why you mysteriously saw the online play update a few weeks ago. I and numerous others see it as a test for Super Mario Party 2's online. From all accounts, the game should be ready for a holiday release and an E3 summer announcement, once again, extremely likely. So that's very interesting. I do think that his points about how well the game is sold is very interesting, because you can't just say, oh, well, everything sells better on Switch because of the install base compared to the previous systems. Well, those big franchises were on Nintendo's best-selling home console of all time, the Nintendo Wii. So the fact that it actually outsold Super Smash Brothers and outsold Animal Crossing and outsold so many of the different games out there is very interesting. Of course, it didn't outsell Mario Kart DS or it didn't outsell Mario Kart Wii, but the fact that it was able to outsell some of Nintendo's other bigger franchises and actually smoke any of the other Mario parties is pretty interesting. It has been a runaway success for them. Nintendo severely underestimated a lot of games. They underestimated Animal Crossing. They thought that was going to sell like 12 to 15 million lifetime, and ended up selling that in like half a second. So Nintendo definitely underestimated a couple of their franchises here and there, but they're only basing it off of what they've had before. So I think they're getting their basis for their sales analysis based on, well, what did the previous game do, and then let's add maybe a bit more because of the Switch effect. So they're going off of City Folk. Maybe the Wii U one, that's not a good one to go off of. Maybe go back to the Wii or something like that, but none of them were ever crazy sales like this, and Super Mario Party has definitely got that on there. And I think it's really because of the Joy-Con and kind of what they do there, and the marketing to the families. That's also another big aspect. Nintendo's been able to infiltrate that space and do very well. So I'm guessing those are the factors in there. And locally, it's a really fun game. I've been playing the game online. I actually played it with some of the other Nintendo ambassadors out there, and it was really fun. The online play works well too. So maybe they are prepping and getting ready for that. But I also think another factor that was not said here by Zippo, I also think that the new NPLN system that Nintendo's implemented for online play has been a big factor into them kind of updating Super Mario Party and getting it to where you can play a mini game collection like that, where you need those type of precise controls with the HD rumble and kind of what you're doing with that. You need that to be precise online and work well. So I think that was also a factor too of wanting them to take advantage of that, which was implemented with the first game with Monster Hunter Rise back in March. Nintendo definitely has many tricks up their sleeve. They talked about this recently at an investors meeting, saying that they have many titles planned for the year. So it's all kind of falling in line here as we head down the road to E3 2021. So what are your thoughts on these two games here? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Going to give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on the latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you for the next one. Peace.